So how many of you are just tired? If you are on your video, you're just tired of posting to jobs and then hearing nothing. Like that black hole seems to be the author of your life right now, right? Raise your hand or shake your head. And so when Meredith Masse, who I met probably 2 years ago in a networking group, just like you're joining now, she was talking to me about how to just stop job boarding. And as a career coach for highly successful and high achieving people who just feel unfulfilled, I know that perpetual hamster wheel of just going round and round on job boards and feeling like, are these postings real? Are these postings just to meet affirmative action requirements? Are these postings just to be in compliance? Are they real? Are they going to stay up? Do they already have someone in mind? How many other applicants are actually applying to these jobs? And do they really even have a job description that aligns with what the job they're looking for? How many of you have actually answered these questions or thought about these questions? Are they real? Do they have the budget? What are they going to put up? The right salary requirements? And this is the continuous inner critic and inner circle that goes on in your mind, right? All the time. Thank you, Becky. This happens all the time. Okay, well, today we're going to show you a 3-step process of how to design your job and look for those postings. And Meredith Masse is my friend, my colleague, and I've been so excited to be able to get to know her. I'm going to share my screen for just a moment, and I'm just admitting a few more people. So hopefully this will be it. 1 second. This one. Okay. So today we are going to talk about stop it. Just stop it. Stop job boarding. And can you guys see my screen okay? Awesome. Okay, how many of you have felt like this baby that just goes like this and like starts to drool around? I don't want to drool anymore. I actually want to own my own job search.
Shelley, we're seeing the wrong screen, just so you know.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's not what I wanted, everybody. Okay, stop that share. See, that's what happens when you get 28 people from all over the world that are calling in. Okay, just 1 second. Hopefully we'll get the right screenshot. Or maybe we just need to go with it. Okay, now can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, here's the baby, right? Nobody wants to be this baby, like that's got his eyes open like this and is just drooling and is like, I feel terrified. I work with so many people who feel terrified like that and just want to feel better. And so I started Colorado Career Connectors in February of this year, and we have over 300 members, and we're so happy to welcome you. I'm Shelley Johnson, and I know it's spelled weird. People usually ask me, how do you pronounce that? So in this day and age, definitely ask people how to pronounce their name. I'm Shelley. In my past, I was a Fortune 50 talent acquisition leader at companies like Comcast Technologies, Lockheed Martin, Honeywell, and Quest Diagnostics. I am very passionate about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And in this day and age, I absolutely partner with the best folks that want to promote equity and inclusion for everyone in the workplace. Last week, I attended a Women in the Workplace State of Women in Colorado. And the good news is that our unemployment rate has gone from 14.3% to 6.7%. However, BIPOC and marginalized women have the highest unemployment rates. And so we are here to help with that. We are here to help with allies of women and BIPOC. And if you need any assistance with that, please let us know. I'm doing a lot with targeted interviewing, and I know Meredith knows the right people for that as well. Meredith is extremely well connected in the Denver market, so I hope she'll chat with you about that a little bit. And so I want to now introduce Meredith to you. Let me stop that share. Boom. Okay, awesome. So Meredith, again, is from ICC, and she has been an innovator in connecting compassionate outplacement care with transitioning job seekers. And after 15 years, she got tired of just living and surviving. She started thriving. And now she helps high achievers like you to thrive in an environment as well. So today she's going to show a 3-pronged process for helping you to stop job boarding. And some of the top job boarding sites that you might be looking at include Fairy Godboss, Mom Project, Glassdoor, Career Builder. For our HR folks out there, HR Colorado. Our technology and engineering and STEM and STEAM leaders, Built in Colorado, LinkedIn, Indeed. For our finance and accounting folks out there, Lew's List, LEWS List, and also for Colorado, Andrew Hudson's Job List, or Job List. Those are some of the top job sites that you might go to, and if you haven't heard of some of those, we'll put them up in the chat, and we also will include them in the email that goes out to you. So Meredith, I'm going to go ahead and start, or allow you to be the host, and I will let you take it from here.
Right on. It's so nice to see everybody on this call today. And I do want to do a quick audio check. I have my window cracked because it's finally a beautiful day in Colorado. And the neighbors decided to pick now to start mowing. Can you all hear that? Is it annoying in the background?
Can't hear it. I can't
hear it.
Awesome. Then that means I get to leave my window open, which makes me happy. So like Shelley,
do you have cicadas out there?
No, not like you do back east. Thank goodness. We moved here in 2005 from the Washington, D.C. area. So I survived at least one round of cicadas out there. So have fun with that. Cicada stir fry, it's a thing. So like Shelley said, I'm Meredith Masse. The company I work for is ICC. It stands for Innovate Coach Consult. We are headquartered in Denver. I am dialing in today from the home office in Colorado Springs, which is about an hour south. For those of you who don't know Colorado Springs. And like Shelley said, I spent the first probably 15 years of my professional life chasing jobs that my resume said I could do, and chasing jobs that I went looking for on job boards, and frankly, the want ads, if I'm allowed to show my age, and yes, in a newspaper. And what I found is that I got myself into roles very, very well and sort of easily enough, I suppose. But they were jobs that, again, that my resume said I could do, not jobs that I cared about or felt like I ever really truly fit in. And so about 10 years ago, I started thinking about this whole idea of hold on, stop looking at the job boards. First, decide what is important to you. And as I draw you all a picture today, I hope you will use this as your decision filter for when you do go to start applying for jobs, and let's face it, networking your way in to get the jobs, because simply filling out the application online will hardly ever result in a job for you. But this becomes your decision filter, as well as if you believe in, I don't know, karma, power of positive thinking, law of attraction, God, Allah, Buddha, whatever your higher power is, what I can tell you is that this will start to make the opportunities that fit you so much more obvious. So if I may, I'm going to bring up the whiteboard. I don't have slides, so if you are looking for a death by PowerPoint today, I'm sorry to disappoint you. But I want to draw you all a picture and have a conversation as we go. So number one, please raise your right hand and promise, Meredith, I promise not to make you a lecturer today.
I
Right?
promise, Meredith.
Thanks, Shelley.
I'll partner with you. This is interactive, and take notes, take screenshots, whatever y'all need.
Yes, and ask questions, tell us stories, tell us about the time when, etc. as we go, please, please. So if you have a piece of paper close by, I want you to draw these 3 circles. Now let's just pretend that I know how to draw on the screen so that these are all the same size and they're perfectly round, right? We're pretending. But these are the three steps, the 3 components, the 3 elements, if you will, that we're going to talk about in today's conversation. And when you start here versus looking at the job board, trying to find the role that you can, the square hole for you to put your round peg into, forget that. Start here and start thinking about what does a great job look like for me? Here are the questions we're going to tackle together. The what you do, also known as your functional role. Not your job title, but actually what do you do day to day in a role that fits you really well. The second one is why. I believe truly that every human wants to know that their work matters in some way. So what we're talking about here is, what does meaningful work look like to you? What's your why? The third one, and those of you who are in the Career Buzz networking group that I host and that Shelley has spoken to, you've seen this before. So I expect y'all to jump right in with what you've learned since the last time you saw this. And the last one is where, and this is the environment. I always have to say it out loud to be able to spell it. There's no spell check on here as far as I can tell. So what you do, why you do it, and where you do it. The thing I want you to notice is that on purpose, these do not converge in a singular point, my spiffy little Venn diagram. When you figure out your what, your why, your where, there are options where all circles converge, all elements converge. And now we're gonna dive a little bit more deeply into each one of these 3. Before I do, any comments or anything in the chat so far, Shelley, that we should address before moving on?
Meredith, I put a Rumi quote out there for everyone, and because you said something about the universe, and so it goes like this: when I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of stress and anxiety. But if I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me and without pain. From this, I understand that what I want also wants me, is looking for me and attracting me. So thank you, Rafat, and also to Ambarish for bringing those things up in my life when I needed them. And then I hope all of you know that the flow is supposed to happen, but you have to have the patience to make it happen. Amen. So I thought that was a pretty cool statement. Other than that, I'm just typing in the chat, and I said, when you figure out your what, where, and why, there are options where all elements converge for you. So that's what we have so far.
Right on. All right, well, let's dive into this what business. Those of you who know me, and there are some folks on on today who know me pretty well, and for those of you who are just getting to know me, you will learn very quickly that this is where everything starts with me.
What a great question. I'd love to see some people put in the chat their answer to that.
Yes. What are your superpowers? What do you do that is, you do it just because you do it, and it doesn't feel like work. For me, it's brainstorming and doing presentations like this. Problem solving, I love it. Building relationships, problem solving, love it, love it, love it. Now, if your superpower is solving problems and you tell me, Meredith, that's my superpower, I'm going to ask you, well, what kinds of problems do you solve, and how do you most naturally solve them? Do you analyze? Do you create a plan? Do you brainstorm? Do you build something tangible? So the more specific you can get on strengths and natural talents, the more clear that will become for you. Shelley knows, and I'll just put in a quick plug.
Oh yeah.
If you're thinking strengths and natural talents, Colby is a great place to start, as is strengths, or what's it called now? Clifton Strengths.
Clifton Strengths, you can do MBTI,
MBTI,
Hogan, DISC, etc. And Meredith and I can help you with those. Hey Meredith, there's a few folks probably waiting in the admin. Can you let them in?
Yes,
They were just
maybe.
texting me about
Let
that.
us in.
Let us in. Okay.
I think I did. Well, right now I don't see anyone in the waiting room.
Well,
So,
hopefully they got in the waiting room.
yes,
Okay,
it does pop up,
awesome.
and hopefully I'm admitting them. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
Alan,
you did. I think I heard. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
right on. All right. Number 2, your current skills. What do you know how to do? What do you know how to do really well? And let me add this very important caveat. If you know how to do it and you've done it for a long time, so that you've gotten pretty good at it, or at least proficient at it, but you would rather stick a hot poker in your eye than ever have to do that thing in your day job ever again, it does not go on this list. Because we want your what to be fulfilling. So folks who know me, I use this example every time. I happen to know how to use pivot tables in Excel. You will never see on my resume, my LinkedIn, any of my personal branding outside of this call that I know how to use pivot tables. The reason why I know how to use pivot tables is because I can't look at this much data. It's overwhelming. I'm going to look at this much data. So it was sort of out of necessity. I know. It was out of necessity that I learned how to use pivot tables to make data analysis a little bit more simplified. I don't want to be known as the pivot table girl. So you'll never see that in my list of skills. Now, you might be thinking, Meredith, that's a really silly example, but I hope you get it. I love it. Becky says payroll. Please don't make me do payroll. Becky, I think I know you well enough to know that you know how to do payroll, but you don't want to be known as the payroll queen. So guess what? That stays off of your wish list. It stays out of this circle. It stays out of the wording on your resume and LinkedIn. Because if you put something around payroll and somebody goes, oh my God, she can save us so much money by doing our payroll, and suddenly you become the payroll gal, are you going to be happy at work?
No.
Food for thought.
So I put the question in there, Meredith. I'd love to get some more interaction in chat. What are your eye-poking skills that you never want to do again?
Oh, I would love to hear about that.
Okay, so filing. Oh, amen to filing. That would be a big hell no. No way, right? Vehicle title work.
Wow.
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, detailing,
Sales.
sales,
I see. Oh,
cold call. Oh, you
calling.
bet. Cold
Okay.
calling. Amen, sister.
All right.
Love
Thank
it.
you. Yes. Love it.
Okay. So even though you could tout those as things you know how to do because they are current skills, Lisa doing taxes. Amen, sister. That doesn't go on the list. The third one is experience. Now this is a little bit more broad than simply current skills. So think about broad experience, industries that you've worked in, specific sectors that you've worked in. That again, that you know, like, and would do again. I once worked in the travel industry, actually for 8 years, during 9/11, no less. And while I love to travel, and I am a self-proclaimed student of other cultures, I don't want to work in the travel industry again. It's way too volatile. And I'd rather do travel as my hobby versus my job. Make sense? So Phil, I like what you're saying. Applying for jobs is the stick of hot poker in your eye. I hope that this framework that I'm sharing with you all today makes it a little less painful and helps you to attract the roles that you want to be in. Shelley, what'd you just put in the chat?
What industries do you no longer want to be in? Oil and gas. And then I'm asking also, what are growth industries and those industries that are in pain right now?
I love those questions.
Okay.
Perfect. We'll keep Amberish, I'm wondering, is consulting the field you don't want to be in, or is that the growth?
The field I don't want to be in.
Okay, perfect.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And often, you guys, it's a lot easier to start with the what I don't want list. And I would suggest taking a blank sheet of paper, folding it in half, spreading it back out. On one side, put don't want, and get rid and just list all the things you know you don't want in your role. Then the important thing is to translate that on the second half of the sheet into the do wants, because your brain doesn't hear the negative. Your brain only hears the positive. And when you get clear, again, when you get clear on the things that you do want, they will start to be more apparent to you. All right, let's finish up this last one here. New skills. What new skills do you want to learn? And what is the role that could afford you that opportunity to learn something new? You do not have to be able to check the box for every single requirement for the job in order to be qualified for it. And it has been my experience that men, when you see a job description and there are 10 items that they say, here are the requirements for the role, and you have 6, you're like, booyah, let's do this. I can do this job. Ladies, it has been my experience that when you see the exact same list and you can check off 8 of the boxes, we tend to think, oh, I'm not qualified. Well, I'm putting the kibosh on that right now today for everyone.
No mas.
No mas. If you have, if you have a majority, I say go for it, because my guess is you probably want to learn a few new things here and there too. And once you get into the job interview and can explain how excited you are about learning that one piece that you don't already know, I'd rather hire you than somebody who has all of them and comes in to claim to be an expert, frankly. So comments, questions on the what. Remember, we're truly talking about what do you do day in and day out in your job, not your job title. So I would even suggest, what are your verbs? What do you do? What are your verbs?
Meredith, I love that, because when I'm working with my clients and we're talking about the STAR, the SOAR, the PAR, the CSR, whatever those behavioral base, it's those action verbs. And so this is another way to look at that. Are you streamlining, operationalizing, benchmarking? What do you do? What another great way in the what. So I hadn't thought about it that way. Thank you. Love that.
Yeah, there's a great old now video that J.T. O'Donnell put out. And she says, when people ask you what you do, they're looking for a verb. And typically we tend to reply with a noun. Oh, I'm senior vice president at ICC. Now you asked me, what do you do? And I told you my job title. So when people ask you, what do you do? It's truly a what in this circle. In this diagram. And it's what kinds of problems you solve and how you solve them. All right, shall we move on to the why? If my keyboard will cooperate. Here we go.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Again, I truly believe that most people want to know that their work has an impact. And so when you think about where do you want to make an impact, or who or what is the beneficiary of the what you do? So I run a networking group, like I said before, that Shelley has spoken at for HR leaders who are in transition. And 9 times out of 10, when I say, why do you get out of bed in the morning? Oh, Meredith, I just want to help people. I want to help the leaders in the organization be better. I want to create a better workplace for people. But if your one-word answer to why is people, guess what I'm going to ask next? Who are they? Who are the people that are the beneficiaries of your good work? Is it leaders in a company? Is it at-risk youth? Is it, previously marginalized and continuing to be marginalized populations? If you tell me people, I want to know who, and get more specific about who is the beneficiary of your good work. Some people say, nope, I want to expand a body of knowledge. So I'll give you an example. And career buzzers, I know you've heard this before. My mother has a friend who is a professor at the University of Oklahoma, and her entire life's work has been spent studying the works of Geoffrey Chaucer. Who remembers reading Canterbury Tales? Oh, sorry. I remember reading the Cliff's Notes. Let's be real. But that's her why. And her whole reason for being is to expand the body of knowledge around the works of Geoffrey Chaucer. Who am I to judge? That's her why. Now, it just so happens that her why also includes people, because she's also a professor. So it's not just studying the works of Geoffrey Chaucer, but also sharing the love of his works with her students. Let me get through the other two, and then I want to see, I don't have the chat up. I hope some good conversation is happening, but I'd love to hear you talk about what your why is. The third one is objects. Now, I want you to think practical things. So maybe your why is designing bridges. Maybe your why is, and this is kind of a nebulous object, but it might cross the line between object and information, is collecting accounting and finance information in order to build a business. Can't really touch a business, so it's not really a tangible thing, but think of the engineer who says, I want to build great bridges that are strong and carry people, you know, grandmothers, grandfathers, moms, dads, aunts, uncles, children, sisters, brothers, safely from this side of the river to this side of the river. Or for those of you in the Bay Area, from this side of the bay to this side of the bay. That's a practical object that I want to create so that it's the safest place and the safest way for people to get across. That's a combination of objects and people. If you say, I want to create bridges with the leading, most sustainable materials, so I have to do a little research and I want to expand the body of knowledge around bridges that are made from sustainable products. That could be 1, 2, and 3. Is that making sense so far? Oops.
I'm starting to see some whys come up in the chat.
I love it.
So that's awesome. And thank you for those. I also posted some questions for everyone as to what inspires you, what motivates you and makes you naturally happy. Now, the reason we called this Stop Job Boarding is once you can find all of those synergies of convergence with the why, the what, and the where, then that's when things come together for you. So Sophie is saying that her why is helping a business be successful in a sustainable way, being competitive and empowering employees. Lisa, your why is at the end of the day to make a difference to someone that you may or may not need to meet. So that is awesome. So we want to hear from you. John, help clients have the best experience through the service or product. That's beautiful. My why is because I sincerely want to help job seekers and those that want to be promoted to speak their truth, to have their voice, and to live life at a higher level, to stop living small. So what's your why?
Yes, and my why is not dissimilar to yours, Shelley, that I'm going to put it in the negative and say, I don't want anyone to go through 15 years of a job or several jobs in which you feel like you're sick to your stomach on Sunday nights before you go to work on Monday, because that was me. And that's where
that feels.
Oh,
who knows how that feels to go to work like that Sunday night syndrome? Oh my God. We do not want that for you.
This is exactly why I put this model together, because I want each and every one of you, just like Shelley said, to be able to land in a role where you can vibrate at a higher frequency in the universe and make a difference, and make the difference that you want to make. The last one here is the arts. And I put that as a kind of a general around producing work for the sake of beauty or aesthetics. So think of the architect who says, I want to design buildings that win architectural awards. That architect is working in 3 and 4. So I hope some of these examples give you the picture that it doesn't have to be just one, and it can be a combination of 1 or 2 or potentially all 4. But this is where you get to dream big. I saw, is it Sophie who said, yeah, but what if you're the breadwinner? I get that. And Sophie, let me tell you this. I did similar talks in around 2010 and 2011 when the economy was in the toilet because of the Great Recession. And a woman called me out, flat out called me out. She's like, this is all very well and good, Meredith, but I need a job. She was unemployed. She'd been unemployed for a while. She was the primary breadwinner. She said, I just need a job. I need a paycheck. I got to keep the roof over my family's head. I got to put food on the table. I said, then your why right now, it is the paycheck. However, I strongly encourage you to keep thinking about these things and getting clear on these things, because if you're the primary breadwinner, I say, yes, you have the luxury of being selective because it's your life. It's your life. And how many more hours do we spend at work, even if it's from home? And I want you to be happy in what you do and make a great living and have health benefits for your family and all of those things go on your list for these 3 circles, all of those things. So I hope that helps a little.
Meredith, thank you. I think that was very helpful because that has to be the focus right now. But living that better life starts with listening to experts like I'll call both of us that are living that better life and helping people through that type of thing. When all of these things converge, that is the sweet spot. But if 1 or 2 things converge, that's getting you closer to the sweet spot. And again, what you seek also seeks you.
That's right.
And if you are trying to push something to happen, then it feels like a furnace. You're trying to force a solution that's not going to work. And that's when you just have to be patient and let life flow as it goes. And if I'm sounding a little bit woo-woo, I'm okay with that. Because
I like
really, your
woo-woo.
I know, because it really is about letting things happen as they are supposed to and not forcing something. So let's talk about environment.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
So,
thank you.
Number 1, who are the people you work with? Do you even work with other people? Are you at a point where you're saying, I don't want to work with other people. I want to be a solopreneur and, my people are my clients. I know there are several folks on the call who are in HR. And so my guess is you're going to be working in a company with people. Otherwise, why would they need you? So what do they look like? What is their sense of humor? What are their values? And do you connect in some way with those people with whom you work? And what would it look like to connect with them? I want you to think of culture ad and not cult, culture fit. At ICC, if I didn't have a couple of colleagues that I could quote Monty Python with and laugh hysterically here and there, it probably wouldn't be a great place for me. But who are the people? What do they look like? What does your boss look like? How do they act? What are their behaviors? What's their leadership style? So think about, even picture them in terms of an avatar. And who are the people that you work with? Again, if indeed you work with other people. Another important piece in environment is the place. Where do you go every day? Are you working from your bed in your PJs? Are you in a home office with a lovely background? Are you actually going into a workplace? And what does your personal workspace look like? You all have probably seen, a bunch of these, especially tech companies. I feel like it's primarily tech companies. But PopSockets is a good example. They're in Boulder, Colorado. They have been a client of mine. And their workspace is incredibly creative. They have one conference table that instead of chairs has swings. They do have some cubicles here and there, but if you need a space away from the cube farm, you can reserve little pods where you can close a door and sit. If I had to sit, like, clock in at the same time every day, clock out at the same time every day, sit at the same desk every day, sit in the same chair every day, although I do that mostly now that I'm working from home. And I was chained down, and here's your job, and just do your job from 8 to 5, and don't change your scenery. I would go stark raving mad. So even when I was going into an office, there would be days that my colleagues would find me in the conference room. What are you doing? I just needed to change the scenery. Or we have a big open space in our office. Sometimes I'd end up out there. Sometimes I'd end up at a coffee shop. So flexibility of space is a big deal for me. I don't need my own space. Where my laptop is, that's my space. My husband, on the other hand, he finally has a job where he has a door and a window. The man could not be happier. That he has his own dedicated, he's not in a cube farm, he has his own dedicated space. And that environment is really important to him and for his productivity. Another thing I want to add here is geography. If you are going to a workplace, think about the drive or your commute. And what does that look like? I'm here to tell you, I said, once I started to figure all of this out for me, I said I would never, ever times infinity commute again. Well, I think you heard me say before that I live in Colorado Springs. The office is in Denver. It's an hour with no traffic. So when the other pieces fell into place for me, that was one thing I was willing to compromise on. At least 2 or 3 days a week, I was driving in. Not anymore. Thank you, COVID. There's the silver lining of COVID for me. So what does the place and the space look like? And I'm talking about the physical surroundings. Next, culture, the almighty culture. What are the organization's values? And do they align with yours? What are the rules of engagement? We at ICC, we often talk about looking at an organization from two perspectives. Performance, which is measured by,
how are you?
Person sales and dollars and revenue, turnover, etc. But there's also another side of performance, and that is, or another side of what we look at, and that is the culture. How do we agree to get great work done together? And what does that look like? Lots of people that I talk to who are in job transition say, I don't even want to tell you what, necessarily a target company or target industry. What I really want is a great culture. And somebody who has their mute turned off, could you maybe turn that back on while you finish the conversation in your background? I think the rest of us would be.
Sections, so coordinating, putting functions together.
I'm trying, Meredith. I'm trying.
Okay.
Management.
I think if Meredith is the host right now, she should be able to mute someone if they've stepped away.
Yep. Let me just look and see.
Conference center, so there was a lot of project management.
Everybody looks muted.
Because we had to create menus and hire all the staff.
Well, we're learning a few things, aren't we?
We are. Thank you. Amber says, I want a company that is willing to invest in my own equity and values that I live outside, that I have a life outside of work. So that's awesome.
And that's part of the culture, right? The infamous work-life balance, or the work life. How does my work and my personal life, how do they integrate so that I feel fulfilled?
So Meredith, I'm just reading and listening to a book called The Culture Code, and it talks about psychological safety.
Oh my.
It talks about and it's about a 7-hour listen, but it's all about that psychological safety. And it talks about the San Antonio Spurs being the most winning basketball team because of Pop and Popovich, and how he really encumbers that even if they lose, he's like, what could we have done better? Like Navy SEALs. I'll have to look at who the author is.
I love it.
Culture code. And it
Yeah.
really is all about belonging, and Navy SEALs, the Spurs, big companies like Zappos. So I absolutely, thank you, Yvette. She'll add it to the post event in the in-mail. I just thought I would mention it.
Awesome. Yeah. And again, here, think about what culture fits you, and how can you be a culture add? Because I don't know about everybody else, but to me, a great place to work, the place that I go to, even if it's virtually, I don't want everybody to look just like me. And I don't want everybody to have the same background that I have. And I don't want everybody to have exactly the same sense of humor, as long as they have a sense of humor. Right? So what does it mean for you to be a culture add as well as a culture fit? And what does that fit look like for you? Okay, last and not least, you've been waiting for the big one, comp and benefits. Maybe I should type that out for those who don't speak compensation, who don't speak HR. For example, if in the interviewing process, you hear nothing but we're a culture of continuous learning, and we believe in continuous learning and continuous improvement, and that goes for our people too. Well, then a natural question might be, okay, well then, do you have education reimbursement? Or will you help me get my coaching certification? Or could I potentially get certified in, a suite of assessments, or in, this thing in the accounting world? I don't speak accounting, by the way, so I'm leaving that a little nebulous on purpose. Help me study for the PE exam. So how does the compensation and benefits align with, the culture and the organization's values? And are you getting what you need? And especially, are you being compensated for what you are worth? This is one that takes some serious homework. So
we actually had Denise Levatro do a whole talk on getting paid what you're worth.
Love it. She's awesome.
She is awesome. And the emotional intelligence, the positive intelligence, the speaking your truth, and the mindset to get paid what you're worth.
Yes.
So this group, if they dialed in for that, got the opportunity to learn that. And so with all of the what, the why, and the where, when things converge, how can people go about using all of this and stop job boarding?
This will help you in so many ways. Number one, it absolutely can, dare I say, should influence how you talk about yourself, no matter who you're talking to. When you say, yeah, I'm currently in transition, and here's what I do, here's what meaningful work looks like to me, and here's the ideal place for me to be able to add the most value. Of course, you're not going to say it exactly like that. You're going to put it in your own words. But it's how you talk about yourself. It's in your resume. It's LinkedIn. So remember my pivot table example. I'm not posting articles about how to get the most out of your pivot tables, right? This is essentially creating your own personal brand. And then this needs to be infused in everything you do in your job search. How you network and what you say when you're networking. Again, it's primarily how you talk about yourself. And Shelley, you know this from being in the Career Buzz, that I want to know what your superpowers are. What do you do that's better than anybody else could do it. And not being afraid to show up as that person, because the right company is going to say, holy cow, we need him. Or what have we done all our lives without her?
Meredith, what I'm hearing you say is this will help you in every single aspect, but not just the framework of branding yourself, but knowing what you're looking for. And this is soul inspired. It's not just that automatic reaction that as job seekers have, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my bills? Unemployment is ending or it's being stopped. Am I going to have to be underemployed or undervalued? This goes back to that convergence of heart-centered, soul-inspired, what you're looking for.
Starts here, not the job description. So if you're going to the job boards and reading, HRBP, HR business partner, and saying, yeah, okay, I could do that job. But in your gut, in your heart, and your mind, and every ounce of your being, you think, but do I really want to? Then put it through this filter. Use this as your decision filter. Once you answer these questions for yourself, does that role check enough boxes that it's worth it?
That's beautiful. Does that role check enough boxes? So Becky said that she turned down a role because of that. And that's totally fine if you turn down a role for compensation, values. Imagine yourself working in a place where your values don't align. I had someone who was afraid not to take a role in last July, and she came back to me in March because it wasn't the right values. So that is super, super important. Mm-hmm. And I did put in there, Meredith, that networking is still the most important piece, and finding that hidden job market.
Yes.
If you can align with the people that also have the same values, or that understand you, no matter what part you're communicating, written, networking, in mails, emails, over the phone, or even in person, all of that is your personal brand. And if you can resonate at a higher level through this framework that Meredith talked about, everything we do at Colorado Career Connectors for my clients is amplifying your awesome and your authority over what is hindering you from moving forward.
I love that so much. Do you see me doing the happy dance over
I
here?
do. And we didn't plan this out before. So I asked Meredith because I love how she takes every single piece of this and draws it out for you. So our goal is that you feel better and that you have a framework to have after this. No matter if you were in finance or HR or customer service or supply chain or nursing or whatever it is, we want to spend an hour every other week helping you amplify your awesome and your resonance. Okay. Meredith.
And let me say this really quick. And I've used this analogy with some of you before, but how many, just a quick show of hands, how many of you have ever purchased a new to you car? Didn't have to be a brand new car, but a new to you car.
A car? An automobile.
Automobile, vehicle, truck, sedan, something, motorcycle, bicycle. And for those of you who you sort of started to get an idea of what you wanted in your new car. I'm seeing some yeses in the chat. I drove a 2000 Honda Accord until 2016. So you can do that math. And in 2016, I decided, it's time for a new car. And I thought, not just because I live in Colorado, but I thought, I think I want a blue Subaru. I want the all-wheel drive, and I want a different color. My Honda was red. And do you know that as soon as I decided that, and not just because I live in Colorado, every other car on the road was a blue Subaru. Now, again, call it law of attraction, power of positive thinking, karma, God, Buddha, Allah, whatever, the universe, karma. I truly believe that because I decided what I wanted and put it out there, if you will, suddenly those cars were everywhere. I believe the same thing will happen when you stop looking at the job boards for a couple of days and start spending a little bit of time on deciding what is the role that fits me. What does it look like? What do I bring to it? What do I do? Why do I do it? And where can I make my best, highest level contribution? Then maybe, yes, you're probably still going to look at the job boards, but then start, as Shelley said, the most important piece or place to look is in the hidden job market. And that happens through networking, in person if you can, on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's going to be your best friend. Asking for introductions, asking for coffees, asking for informational interviews, and getting yourself out there and talking about yourself using this as your guide.
Meredith, thank you so much. I want to be able to show a slide, so if you can make me host again, that would be awesome.
Here, in case you want to do a quick screenshot before I take it down. Don't steal my stuff, people. There's a book in progress. Slowly, but there's a book in progress. Yep, hold on, let me.
Okay. I'd like to invite all of you to our next Career Connectors, which will be on June 7th. I just put the link in the chat. A good friend of mine, Lori Barr, who is the CEO of Empathic Communications, is going to be talking about burnout, or burn bright instead of burnout. So many people I'm talking with now are just burnt out, lost, exhausted. We're going to go through, thank you, Yvette, burn bright instead of burning out. She put the link in the chat. I invite all of you to come to that. If you know other people that are job seeking or just seeking something different, please invite them to come to that as well. I love having people not just from Colorado, but from all over the country. And we're really trying to get the word out on Colorado Career Connectors. So please, if you have other groups that you'd like me to speak at, if you'd like to get the word out to your groups around the country, please email me, send me a note or to Yvette, and we'd be happy to chat with you. I also wanted to let you know that for any of my high achieving women out there, contact me. If you're feeling very, very lost, burnt out, I have a group starting in June and July. That's 8 weeks. That's going to help you amplify your awesome and resonate at a higher level. This is really for you. We do this because I have great friends like Meredith and Lori, who are coming next time. We have recorded this. We will be sending this out to you. My contact information will be in there, as well as Meredith's. If I can help you at all with anything, I am a master connector and a change maker. 10 of my clients in the past 5 weeks have gotten jobs, some through the hidden job market. The average right now is 28% increase in their pay. So let me know how I can help you. And thank you so much for joining Colorado Career Connectors.